Robinson. Hi there, welcome to the Robinson training. Myself, Rikun Sandwar, I am a red teamer, instructor, and a risk consultant. I'm starting new series on MSSQL attack, which is quite common during a red team assessment. We will be starting with making our own vulnerable lab and moving ahead with the exploitation. The reason behind lab setup is we'll get the core understanding of the particular vulnerability, and exploitation will be just a cake pie when we are aware with the, of course, the basic, the core, right? Before moving ahead, if you are not aware, I have started writing a course for OSCP students or whoever preparing for the OSCP or similar certification. The course helps you to prepare the same. Three of the module, not the module, but the sub module is already started and completed. You can go and check out the link gitbook.robinsive.in. So let's start with the first lab setup video. For the series, we will be requiring an Active Directory environment. And to build our own Active Directory environment, we will be requiring few things. And the first and foremost, we will be focusing on Windows OS. So you can either purchase and get your own Windows server, of course, or what you can do is you can search for Windows evaluation copy or Windows evaluation with whatever server you want. So for me, I'll go with Windows Server 2012, which would be sufficient and which would be perfect choice for this particular series. So let's move ahead. And the first and foremost is the link from where you can download in a different format. So if you are going to build with on top of let's say VMware workstation, I would recommend to go with the ISO. If you are not going to use that, probably Hyper-V or something, then you can download this VHD as well. So both will going to be eventually same. You can also use this VHD with the virtual books, but I would still recommend to go with the ISO. So I will be downloading the ISO version by just clicking on download the ISO. It will gonna take time, of course, to load this particular page. Perfect. So to download this evaluation copy, it will ask you few information, which you can of course serve them. So the first name I'll go with, let's say, please subscribe. Email will be, let's say, ps@yt.com, any random name, of course, it will not going to validate. But to navigate to that link from where you can download, you need to fill all the required fields. So the company, currently it's robensive.in. Country, of course, I'm an Indian. Company size, I'm alone. Job role will be RS consultant. Phone, you can provide any random number, of course, plus 91 998877665544. 4455 should be good. So let's go ahead. Question, comment if you have. I don't want to go with any of those, and I'll just hit this download button. Perfect. Now I got redirected to another location from where I can download in a various language. So if you are not comfortable with the English, let's go with the other Chinese, French, or German, or anything. So I'll go with the English for now, and we'll move ahead. So again, I'll be going with the ISO version. Perfect. So I'll not gonna download this because I already have that with me. So I'll just directly skip this part of downloading and all the things. Instead waiting, I'll use the one I already downloaded and we'll move ahead. So I'll be using VMware Workstation, and initially we will be starting by creating one folder. You can right click over here in order to find new folder option. You can create new folder. So all your machine and number of machines will be put it just inside that folder. It will just gonna help us to manage. So let's say um, Robinso AD set one, and in this folder we will be having all the different server machine. We can start by navigating to file menu and new virtual machine. I will go with the typical one, don't want to go with any customization for now. And with that being said, let's just specify the disk image file that we have downloaded. I'll browse my directory, and the file which I have downloaded, it's somewhere in the D drive, and here's the one. Perfect. It automatically detected the Windows Server 2012 R2. This will be my DC, so I'll specify the virtual machine name as a DC01. Whatever you really wish to specify, you can, of course. So I'm gonna choose the different folder. Probably in my D drive I'll be choosing MSSQL folder, and of course within this MSSQL I'll be creating another subfolder with the name of DC01. So everything will gonna be managed now. The size default would be sufficient. If you want to transfer the particular machine in a different system, you may use this split one. Elsewhere store is the perfect. So I'll go with the store for now. It is little faster, and yeah, should be perfect with our particular scope. The default setting seems to be fine. Memory somewhere seems to be low. So I'll make it a little more. Whenever you do specify this RAM, it is always recommend to calculate. So what you can do, let's say I want to specify 3 gigs of RAM. So I'm gonna add 1024 into 3, and it is 3072. So I'm gonna specify 3072. It will be sufficient for now. So let's go with this. I'll be closing this. Processor is also fine. I don't really wish to go with anything additional. So all seems to be set. And let's finish. It will be just a standard installation. So just to save time, I will going to skip few of the steps and navigate further when it is required. I'll be choosing install now. And here is the important one. So there are two different versions of the Windows Server. One is the standard, one is the data center. Along with, there is a two different types of operating system. One is the GUI and one is just a command line interface. So I would recommend to go with the data center with the GUI access. So the last one is for the data center, and it is also GUI version. So you'll have all the command, all the Windows icon and all the different icons things. So I'll go with this. Hit next, accept terms and condition. Next, I'll choose the custom and create new drive out of this particular unallocated space. So I'll go with the default, no need to mention anything as such. So all seems to be fine. The largest size of the partition basically, which we will be used for our particular task of installation. It's already started and about to be done. Installation is almost complete. I'll click restart, but I'm not going to restart this as I'll instead right click power and power off. The reason behind that is I want to create two different machines with this step process. Instead of installing it again, what I'm gonna do, I'll right click and create a duplicate of it. Manage, And we can create a duplicate probably. um I think I have to click first, right click, snapshot, clone, duplicate. It's clone word, of course. The current state of virtual machine I want to clone. Create a full clone instead of link clone. So it will not gonna require that particular machine to be there. So the next, instead of clone of DC01, I'll gonna specify, let's say DBSRV01, which is my database server. And the location again I'll going to specify, which is from D drive and the MSSQL folder. Within that, I'll create another subfolder as the name DBSRV01. Seems to be good. And let's just finish. Perfect. Now we have both the machine ready. One is DC01 and second one is DB server. So I'll drag both of the machine within the folder that we have recently created. So it will gonna be managed. If you want to create more clones, more machines within the Active Directory environment, you can of course replicate the same. So all seems to be fine. Right now I'll be just focusing on DC. And let's start with the DC preparation. So I'll be powering on and continuing that further process. That hit this power on machine. Perfect. So now we have our first setup things, and that is a username administrator with the password, which will be your domain administrator. So based on what you have to take care of, so I'll just gonna specify password, let's say rob at 123, re-enter password prob at 123, where R and 0 and B, rob at 123, and again R0 at 123. Be fine. And let's finish it up. Perfect. And that's it. That's all we have to do. So it's ready. We can enter our password that we recently configured. We go. It will require to do a little more setup things that we will be focusing on. So the first and foremost thing is installing VMware tools, because those tools will help us to transfer things and so on and so forth. So I'll be clicking on this VM and install VMware tools, install, and it will going to show another drive probably for the VMware tools. Standard software installation, I'll go with the complete. Trying to configure the desktop width, and yeah, it tells that you need to restart your system, but I'll not gonna restart right now. Instead, I'll configure a few different things that really require restart of your operating system. And the first is to configure your machine name. So I'll right click to this Windows icon, navigate to system, in which you'll find this computer name section, which you can change by just clicking on this link. So the machine is DC01 that I'll be configuring, and should be good. This is my DC01. I'll hit OK. Computer name here, DC01. Be good. This is computer description. I'm gonna specify domain computer, or not the domain controller, and should be good. It asks whether you want to restart or not. I'll say restart later because there is one more thing that I want to be configured. So the last, not the least, is to configure your firewall. I'll just hit my Windows and R button and type control to open control panel. Right clicking or just click on this category, viewed by category, and click on small, and you'll find this Windows firewall. Now I want my firewall to be turned off for a private network, public network, and there will be one more which we will configure, of course, which is for the domain network. I'm gonna say turn Windows firewall on and off. I'll say off for both of the section or both of the networks, right? Thing is configured. There is one more thing I want to be pre-configured, which is our domain machine IP address, domain controller IP address. So I'll right click on this network icon in order to navigate to network and sharing center and change the connection IP address by just clicking on this hyperlink. We can navigate to properties, IPv4, double click, and we can specify the IP address. That is something which we want to be configured, right? So the current IP address, we can navigate and type ipconfig, which is 192.168.71.139. So what I'm gonna do, I'll make this as the static IP. Static IP, subnet mask, default gateway will be, of course, the last would be 1. Just wanted to confirm what is my default domain gateway. It's not 1, it's a 2, 71.2. The default gateway is configured. The DNS server, what I'm gonna specify is my own machine IP address, which is 192. I can just paste it out. The alternative for network access would be 8.8.8.8.8. Google DNS. The local DNS server won't be able to find systems like Google or domain name like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and so on and so forth. So that's why this alternate DNS server is required in order to access the internet. So that seems to be fine. All set. I'll hit OK. OK, close, and everything seems to be fine. Now, finally, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna right click, shut down or shine out, and I'll just hit on this restart. Still, this is a standard machine and we haven't configured for the domain. So the next thing which we will going to do is to configure it for as a domain machine or domain controller specific. Machine rebooted quickly, and this time we have a bigger screen, of course, because of this VMware tools. So what I'm gonna do, I'll send result control delete, write my password which is configured. Something is wrong. R at 123. Yep, seems to be fine. It will automatically open the server manager. Before moving ahead, I want to confirm whether this machine name is changed or not. So what I'm gonna do, I'll type host name and it says DC01. So all things seems to be fine and we are good to move ahead. We can click on this add roles and feature to add domain related or AD related features, and we can navigate to the standard installation. So I'll go with the role based feature, next, and we want Active Directory domain service to be added. Other things are fine. I don't really want LDAP or any other uh, extra things like ADCS. The standard Active Directory domain services would be fine and fair enough for the current task. So I'll just hit next. Also, I want this DNS server to be added because my particular DC will going to serve some internal machines. So DNS server is something required. Additionally, other things to be fine for the default and should be good with the next. The next is it tells that whether you want this particular feature, any feature to be added within your environment. I don't really wish to go, but yeah, I'd like to add this .NET Framework 3.5. Not specific for this reason, but there are other reasons during the installation of MSSQL as a service. So this is something which might require or through which my installation might fail. So just to be on a safer side, I'll go with this. All seems to be set. DNS server, it will automatically configure. So if I scroll up, probably somewhere here, if I exclude this, it's not going to disclose that DNS server thing. So DNS server, it tells that some information, nothing extra, description things, confirmation whether you really wish to install or not, and we can hit this restart the destination server automatically if required. So I'll just hit that and everything seems to be fine, and let's install. It will going to take a little time, so I'll skip this post installation. While this installation is ongoing, what I'll gonna do is I'll gonna initiate with the second server, which will be our DB server. So I'll navigate to that DB server, power on that particular machine, and let the things in. It will be same as how what we did for the DC01. A few more things that we will going to change. However, we're not gonna install any Active Directory services here. Instead, we will just going to connect it to the domain. Perfect. There is an error with my DC01 probably, and view the task progress, open the page, probably some errors. What I'm gonna do, I'll restart this particular machine and let's see how it worked. Started. Meanwhile, I'll set up a password here in my database server. Let's say drop at 123, drop at 123. It's not really recommend to use easy passwords if you are working for the real world uh, labs, of course, or real world machines. Are ready at the rob at 123. Rob at 123 seems to be fine. As usual, what I'm gonna do, I'll click on VM, install VMware tools, and it will show me this DVD drive. Double clicking, it will auto run the installation files. Next, complete, next, install. While it is being installed, I'll right click on my Windows icon, hit on the system, change setting, change name, and this will be my DB server 01. You can create a number of, if you want to join a particular domain, you can specify that here. Right now this DC is not fully configured, so I'm not gonna add that, but yeah, you can include that later on. So let's just move it ahead a little, and other things we can do prior. I don't really wish to restart right now. Instead, I'll turn off firewall things and do the other installation part. Let's verify the DC first. Rob at 123. will automatically open Server Manager. Seems like this Active Directory is not really installed. Yeah, it seems like. So add role and feature. Next, next, PC01. Again, I'll gonna say Active Directory domain service. I'm not gonna include anything for now, and let's just go with the default installation. Next, next, and install. Meanwhile, let's configure this. So again, I'll navigate to my network and sharing center to specify a static IP. 140 is the IP. I'll go and change. Preferred DNS server, I'll gonna specify the one which is used for DC01. So again, config, it's 71.139. For internet access, we're gonna specify 8.8.8.8 and things seem fine. Okay, close, all the things are perfect. Okay, this time installation succeed and it requires some configuration, and we're going to make it or promote it as a DC. So you can click on this flag and promote this server to the domain controller. Perfect. The domain name which we can specify, of course, I'll be using robensu dot local. You can choose your own, of course. And probably I have to add a new forest because there is no any domain specific for the robensu.in. Robensu dot local will be my domain name. Let's say robensu labs instead. Perfect. Default things I'll go with. Any password you want to be set for Active Directory the service restore mode. It will, if you specify this password, it will restore it to the default configuration probably. Haven't used this feature much, but yeah, we can provide. So I'll go and set any random password. All things to be default. It's still loading. Just wanted to confirm one thing. Whether I have clicked on the DNS because DNS server is required for our task. The NetBIOS name is robensu-labs. I'll go with the default, no need to modify as such. Things seems to be fine. Next. Loading. Everything seems to be fine. Those are just warnings. It'll take a little time to install, fully install, I would say. Perfect. Install, and it tells that font is going to be signed out, so we can log in through Active Directory account. Set, it will automatically sign out and restart. We are almost done with our DB server configuration, so we are just waiting for our DC to be ready. Once DC is ready, it will be just a few clicks, and it's still ongoing. Perfect. So now our DC is totally ready. I'll hit Alt Control Delete. Now this time it will going to log into robensive-lab slash administrator. So password, and we are logged in. If I type net users slash dom just to verify whether this is domain or not, and it tells that yes, this is the DC1, which is our DC, our domain control, right? So everything seems to be fine, and we are done with our domain controller preparation. One last thing is to reconfigure our firewall. So again, I'll navigate to control, Windows firewall, and you see this domain network is enabled. You can keep it enabled or turned on, uh, just based on what's your requirement. But for lab preparation, it is not something recommended at all. All set, all clear. My DC is ready. Now I want the second machine, which is DBSRV, to be connected against that particular DC. In order to do that, I'll hit this change setting, click on this change, and specify the machine name or computer name as DBSRV01. I'll specify a domain, which is robinsil-labs.local, and should be good. There is an error. The network controller for the domain could not be connected. Ensure that the domain is typed correctly. It should be. Let me just quick check. Who am I? It says Robin labs, and probably the machine name, the domain is also the same. Robensive-labs.local. Let me retry labs.local and give it a try. Quite weird. What I'm gonna do, I'll restart this machine and try again. If fails, I'll navigate to fix further. So they're fine. I'm gonna hit close button, right click, and restart. Right. Verifying whether this DNS is configured properly or not. Properties, not the 71,140 is the right, and DNS is 71.139. Correct. Should work. Let's give it a try again. Right click, system, change setting, change by DBSRV01. Domain is provencio-labs.local. And let's hit OK. Perfect. It asks for credential. I'll specify administrator credential. Administrator, and should be done. Perfect. Now this machine is member of that particular domain, and we can just restart in order to reflect. Once we add any machine to Active Directory, it will going to add some policy uh, within this particular machine. So it may take a little time based on your configuration. So here, administrator password, which is rob at 123, and I'm in. Everything seems to be fine. I'll verify by just typing net user slash do, and here it tells who are the user uh, against that particular machine, again that particular DC. So DC is pretty much configured, and our Active Directory environment is ready to be added, or ready to add any kind of vulnerability. So whenever you are done with this, of course, one thing we missed out, and that is turning off firewall. And we can click on firewall, turn on and off, turn off all the firewall. So we can just interact with each other without any all things to be done. And all things are done basically. Now our environment is totally ready. What we can do is we can just shut down our DC, right click, or we can just I always recommend to shut down manually. Shut down and create a snapshot. So when you have that snapshot, you can clone it, or you can revert on that particular stage when something got wrong anytime, right? So snapshot is really cool feature offered by this workstation. Even it is available for the VirtualBox and uh, other things like Hyper-V. So yeah, both the machine are ready. What I'll gonna quick check is to remove this DVD drive to be connected during this power on at least. Same for the DBSRV, because it is annoying for me at least. And things are done. I'll right click, snapshot, take snapshot, init, take snapshot. It's not gonna take much time. Just a click, init. Now, whenever I right click snapshot and click on that init or snapshot manager where you will find this init, it will be reverted to that. Right click snapshot, revert to the snapshot init. Right click snapshot, revert to that init. So anytime if I make any mistake, I can always revert back to the same. So the things are done and we are ready to move ahead with installation of our MS SQL service. But I will be putting this further things in a later video because the video length will be quite long. Our Active Directory environment is ready to install any kind of vulnerable services. And our target will be to install MS SQL Service. So that's it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something new. Hope you enjoyed this learning series. And yeah, that's it. That's all. See you next time. If you do like, hit that like button. If you really love it, then comment below. And if you need any help or anything, of course, comment is one section. You can also connect me over other platforms, right? So before moving to our end, I would again redirect all the node or all the eyes towards, of course, my course which I'm preparing for the OSCP students. So let me quick share here. If you are not aware, I have already started preparing a free course for everyone who are preparing for OSCP or similar certificate. So you can navigate to this particular URL where you'll find the YouTube link, which you can of course hit in order to navigate channel. And my channel has almost many videos. I don't really count those, but yeah, here you'll find all the different playlist, community talks, shorts videos, and the course, of course, the advanced network exploitation. But you can hit those playlist button in order to find in different short sections, and that will help you to navigate from zero to the further. So that's it. That's all. See you next time. The pencil.